What?
Yeah,
oh,
so people doodle
okay, he wants me to read this. Welcome to the All-American Otaku Show, is that right? Okay, don't kill me. Thank you. Bye.
That's so good.
All-American Otaku, join the ride, jumping in where the stories collide. From the screen to the song, this is where we belong. All-American Otaku, let's come alive. Let's go.
Hello everybody, welcome to the All-American Otaku Show. Today's subject is about voice acting and the importance of voice acting in anime.
Yeah.
And to get there for the second episode in a row, we got Louie Louie.
Heck yeah, again.
And voice acting for me is like a really, you can have the early voice acting for such as Record of Lodoss Wars. Great anime all around. I give it a 5 and 5 on a review I did earlier. And that review, but the voice acting was horrendous. Like Parnes, when they did the closing scene, sounded like a screeching monkey.
Yeah, for me, honestly, I didn't get to get English. The only English dub I got was obviously Pokemon, which everybody's well aware of. Dragon Ball Z, because at first I did watch a little bit in Spanish because of the channel that we had it on. And then obviously Japanese. So for me, I didn't really pay attention. I didn't really get into voice acting. And I understand that even Japanese voice, because it's not just obviously American, but Japanese. Even for me, it was a little hard to get into listening to the voices because I was always trying to look at the subtitles and see what's going on. But over the years, yeah, I started really enjoying the voice acting and how some of them actually, because there's some where it's monotone. Like the one we're talking about with Ghost Stories.
Ghost Stories, yeah. The one where the anime was done so bad that the Japanese people just didn't give a care anymore and decided, okay, do what we want, so they were making a joke out of it. Yeah, some voice acting you go there is really good, like your Tokyo Ghouls or even Dragon Ball Z's or One Piece or
Cowboy
Bebop. Great voice acting. And voice acting for me is important considering the angle that I have in my room sometimes. I can't really watch subs because I can't read the subs, so it's like I have to watch at an angle, so it depends on, I have to be on my English voicing. And when the voice acting sucks, it kind of ruins the whole immersion.
It does. For me, I remember at first it took me a while, and I had to watch even in Japanese. Black Clover, I couldn't stand Asta's voice at the beginning. For me, I almost didn't watch that anime only because of Asta's voice. But that was his character. That's what he had to sound annoying. He had to, he had to get your attention somehow, and it grew onto me. But for me, yeah, like you said, it's important. And that was one of his characteristics, and eventually I found out that I really liked his voice.
Like the voice actors for Noel was done perfect. And same with, I forget the character's name, the guy with the sharp teeth that joins Black Clover.
Oh, the one with the bugs.
The one
the
with
stink bug. The stink bug.
The stink bug.
He does the traps.
He was good voice. Another one that was really good voice acting that doesn't get as much credit for it was Soul Eater.
Oh yeah, dude, Soul Eater.
The voice acting was great from Death the Kid to Maka, where Maka's like, "Hey Maka, why don't you like Dad anymore, Maka?" and stuff like that. So, and I remember watching the one called Seraph the End. The voice acting was so good, except for the blonde hair girl. Her voice acting was so bad, it felt like a shrill nails on a shot pot.
I almost forgot about Seraph, only obviously because they haven't they haven't done a second season. But yeah, I forgot that their voice acting would be good too.
Yeah, except for the blonde hair girl.
Yeah. I never really paid attention to her until you mentioned.
She was only there like for a few episodes, and it's like, geez, why is her voice so? But then you have very cute voice acting, like Ponyta from My Hero Academia. When she talks, it's like, oh my god, that's so adorable.
You know what anime with English voice acting threw me off? The one right now, the Witch Hat.
Which had Alter.
Yeah, it threw me off because I remember I watched the first 2 episodes in Japanese subtitle, and then I went to the English dub, and I was like, wait, this is the first time. I think it might be the first time I've heard accents.
I did.
Yeah. and it threw me off. It really
It
did.
did.
But I like them. It fits the style.
If it's a story and style, they're kind of a, because Witch Hunt Ultra, as you know, is more of a Scottish or Irish and British thing, so it had the accents fit in there. That's another thing with voice acting, doing accents. And people don't realize the importance of voice acting. Like an actor, like a movie we were watching a few minutes ago called Freaks. You could see the voice acting, you could do it with your face and stuff, but in voice acting, you don't have any of that.
Oh yeah, when they were all saying no, but the voice wasn't theirs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with voice acting. You can make or break an anime for some people. For instance, the Japanese dub for Dragon Ball Z was, to me, Goku's voice was just horrible. It sounded like a really ancient old woman rather than Goku.
Which it was.
Which it was. But it was...
Not to make fun of him.
Not to make fun of there. And another thing I noticed when I go to conventions...
But isn't that like very common? There's a lot of female voice actors in Japan that do male, like Naruto. Even Naruto, I mean, both.
They do, and same with even the U.S. Like Bart Simpson was Nancy Cartwright.
Yeah.
And of course you got the famous voice actor that's non-anime is called Mel Blanc.
And then the girl that does she does, what's her name? It's not Terry Patch. The one that does Bubbles.
Bubbles, yeah.
Her voice acting.
And then the thing I found funny is when you see a lot of female voice actors nowadays, my God, some of them are hot.
You were talking to me about that the last 2 days we've been watching anime.
And like another good voice actor, what's nice and melancholy and calm, Freeren's voice actress. How her voice is in there, it just fits the character and fits the mood. If it was like really screechy or something, it would kind of take you out of the character. Fern's voice acting, kind of stern and stuff. Even Stark's voice acting, done perfectly. It's like you could really feel the characters.
I felt like Attack on Titan had both English and Japanese voice acting, like good. Like
exactly.
Like I could watch him in both, and it wouldn't bother me. Like obviously that famous screaming, the screaming line where it's the two kids asking for Bertolt, and then the scene where in Japanese where Aaron's dad's crying about how he's telling him that he already did it. Like that to me was like, holy, what the heck, dude.
And then there was some voice acting scenes that got so iconic, even though it was a mess up. It was supposed to be a power level of 4,000, but instead, the Japanese translation got there, so the English voice acting it says power level of 9,000. Since then, it's been T-shirts and memes and everything else on a mistake on a voice. And sometimes it works that way. Well, right there, like Yamcha's voice, perfect. Even
I couldn't. How many English voice actors did Goku go through?
quite a bit.
Yeah.
And even when I was watching Akira, like Kaneda from the original Akira was voice acted by the same voice actor who did Donatello. Then it eventually became Johnny Young Bosch. So much so when I was at
He was a surprise to me. I didn't know he was a Black Ranger. I didn't know he voiced some of my favorite, obviously Ichigo, Vash.
Yep.
Like I did not know he was those two voices. I was surprised when I found out that he did voice acting. I thought he was just a Black Ranger.
And then you have Steve Bloom.
Obviously, an icon. I waited 8 hours in line to get a signature.
Exactly. And we went to his panel. He was a really nice guy.
He was.
One of the persons right here don't really agree with his political views, so he has issues with him right now. But Steve Bloom, and then you have Vic Mignogna, whether he's guilty or not, he was still a good voice actor. He did Broly and he did Ed.
Yeah. Also, his wife, Steve Bloom's wife.
Yep.
Which she was really nice and really kind. Which I found out at that panel that they were married.
Exactly. Same with the voice. The voice actor of Asta and the voice actress of Noelle from Black Clover are actually married as well.
That's a first for me. I didn't even know that.
They are, and they're young. They're like in their 20s.
Did we see them?
Nah, not yet.
I thought we had seen them before they stopped doing the dinners at the. I thought Asta's voice was.
I think he was.
Yeah.
And one of the things that our friend Ronnie or RileyChaseFox, he had this microphone. He had all these voice actors around this microphone. Voice acting is like the rock stars of the anime world. Yeah. When you think of anime and things like that, you think of voice actors.
Yeah, like I said, it took me a while to really admire the work. Because like I said before, for me, it was story in animation. I never really paid attention to the voices until, like I told you, until I heard Asta, and I was like, holy, I can't do this. I didn't watch it until like the first season was done. But then like I said, I started realizing like it's the voice will make the anime whether really good or
Really bad.
really bad.
And we've all experienced some really bad voice acting in some really good anime. I mean, sometimes it's been debated if it was sub versus dub, English, Hindi. It's like, personally, I think that war is stupid when it comes to voice acting. Let's watch how you want to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy the experience of voice acting. Enjoy the experience of anime. And don't judge there. Just be happy there's other fans.
Yeah, definitely. But I do remember. I felt like when Funimation had their own app and all that stuff. I felt like their voice acting for dubbing was always fast.
It was.
We have to wait like 2-3 days for a dub to come out.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's probably country rules, the way they do it, or I don't know how that happens. But I remember Funimation. I think it was the same day or a day later you'd get your dub already.
Exactly, and then we had the same problem with Crunchyroll. It's like they were like, okay, it's dubbed. You're like, oh, cool, I finally get to see this in English. You go there, it's like Hindi or Thai dub.
Oh yeah, I see. Because they have Portuguese. I've seen some have Portuguese, some have like not Ukrainian, but other languages in it. So like, all right, it's not English. So
And then they don't do the English for months or even years. And it's like, come on, it's like we know us English people, and this is an All-American Otaku Show. People who speak English and go for English dub, there's probably more of us than Hindi dubs or Thai dubs.
But then again, remember the anime scene has been growing. It grew
It has.
super fast. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's always been around, especially thanks to Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, Naruto now, My Hero, One Piece.
Exactly. And it's gone so there's Macy Day parades of characters.
Mm-hmm.
And even in Mexico, when Akira Toriyama, who we did pay tribute to this in a past episode, the cartels and everything else in Mexico all ceased to mourn Akira Toriyama. That thing, I always go there, and the idea of the voice actor, like Monica Riel as Bulma, has become so iconic, or even the voice acting of Yurihiro Shimesi from Yu-Gi Hakusho, or even the modern day one, like if you go for Mao Mao from Apothecary Diaries, it's so ingrained into the characters, you can't really think of anyone being those characters. Even though they did a really good job replacing Vigniana for Broly as John Yon Bosch.
Yeah, there are some animes where I can't watch a dub, and for the most part, it's most likely because I've already started the anime in Japanese and I want to keep it that way. But there are some times where I feel like their voices don't fit. Like you'll hear a very masculine voice on a very small, petite character.
Exactly.
Like honestly, the one we're watching right now, the barbarian, like especially when he shaves, even when he's not shaved, his voice, I feel, and the fact that he's 18,
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes it throws me off.
It does.
And I know he's barbaric and all stuff, but that voice sometimes throws me off.
Exactly, and then you have voice acting that really fits the characters, like Vinland Saga. The English voice actors sound so well that it feels like you're actually watching someone from the region area. And the idea that they added more character voice acting and more accents and more real acting than just, okay, we're just doing these lines and let's get over with.
I remember the first time you invited me to SakuraCon, where one of the voice actors, I forgot who it was, I know it was a female voice actor, and she was drinking tea because it does take a lot of strain on them. They try to, I think she was explaining to us how they try not to talk too much outside, like especially if they're working, so that it doesn't strain their voice. And I didn't know how intense and how serious they take their job, because I mean, you get strep throat or you damage.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there goes your job.
There goes your job, because as many as famous voice actors there, most of them have to take any work they could get, because there's always a new voice coming in there, as we're going to be talking to one of them that's going to be pretty soon. And speaking of which, here's our take on the voice actor RileyChaseFox. Hopefully you enjoy.
Yes.
Hello everybody. Welcome to the segment of the show where we interview a aspiring voice actor, a future legend, future greatest voice actor of all time, future voice acting god, a voice acting that people for probably thousands of years will look at this voice actor to inspire on what voice acting should be. RileyChaseFox.
Well, thank you, Jeremiah. I appreciate your introduction. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. So what are we talking about today?
So we're talking about the voice acting. A lot of my fans wouldn't want to know, and maybe inspiring voice actors as you, what would your major things you want to talk about for voice acting? What would your advice you would give someone who's trying to get into the field?
Yeah, so I would automatically, I would say, definitely take classes, because classes are a great way for you to meet other actors. They're a great way for you to meet, directors, casting agents, producers, engineers. And it's a way for you to not only network yourself, but it's a way for you to market yourself as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, because when you're taking the classes, like you're taking them with other inspiring actors. Some of them are already in the industry working already. And especially when you can put a face behind your name, that's a big thing to do, because now they not only see your name, they could see your face. They could kind of get to know you, and that's how you build your relationships, because it is a relationship type of business.
It is.
So yeah.
What do you think is what makes voice actors more popular than, let's say, the animator in the animate field or the directors?
Yeah, well, I mean, to the audience, because the actors are the stars. They're the ones that you hear the voices, you look up the name, and then you could see their face. I think to, like, the fans, the ones that aren't so in-depth, like, into, like, knowing about who the editors are, or who the directors are, or who the musicians are, or who the sound effect engineers are, those names don't really get put in the spotlight unless you're in the industry. Because if you're a voice actor in the industry, like, you know these people, you know how important they
Exactly.
they are, because without them, you don't. I mean, if you're someone that can only voice act and that's it, there's not really much that you can do if you can't write, you can't edit, you can't animate.
Exactly. So. What do you think of, like, if voice actors like Sonny Strait, who does the introduction of our thing, who could actually draw, animate, and voice act?
Yeah, I mean, he's been in the industry since, dude, like, probably before I was even born. He's been in since, the 90s, and I think there's a lot of people in the industry that are multi-talented like that. It's a very common thing. Like, you're gonna have a lot of, like, actors that are musicians, or you have a lot of directors that are actors, or you have a lot of engineers that might go into acting, or you have, like, actors that are engineers or writers or animators. So there is a balance of some of them, but they are rare.
What would you say to a voice actor, and they get discouraged if they don't get a job right away?
Yeah, you're not. The job as an actor is to automatically understand you're not always going to get the role. You're probably going to audition hundreds of times before you finally get a yes. This has to be something that you really love doing, you really like doing. You have to dedicate a lot of time. You have to sacrifice a lot of time. And you're not always going to get the role. You might audition for thousands of stuff and maybe work on 5 projects. So if you're going to get discouraged, before you even get started, I would really identify if this is something that you really, really want to do. Have a backup plan. Have a daytime job. That's very important, because you have to have a source of income. So if you're not working, you don't have any way to pay your bills or other things that you might need money for. So definitely make sure you have a daytime job while you're pursuing this, and just understand that maybe you're not always going to make it. That's the brutal reality. That's the truth of it. That not everyone makes it, but as long as I've been doing voice acting from where I started to where I'm at now, and the people that I see that are still getting, like, into it and then going on to make it work, I think if you really, really, really want it, you can get it. Just be patient. and not everything is going to happen at a time that you want it to happen in. Sometimes there is just lots of other things that go on in life, or other things that you need to prioritize and take care of before you can really start, like, getting a demo ready, getting your website up, start getting on casting directors like email lists, or certain studio email lists.
So network yourself.
Yeah, network is definitely very important. I know a lot of actors that are not like the best actors, but they can really network and market themselves.
And if you're, for the people who are voice acting and stuff, who would you say, if they were learning voice actors, who they should study?
I don't think there's ever like one coach or one studio or one course that really is like the best. I think it's going to come down to like how you work, how the person coaching you is coaching, because certain people, they respond really well to like people that are, very upfront about where you're at mentally as an actor, or where you're at as a person. I think some people respond more to like, hey, you're doing a great job, keep at it. Other people are like, hey, like, you're not really good in this area, we need to work on that. Certain people respond to certain things in different ways. So I wouldn't say there's one in particular. I always recommend the ones that I take in, and that's like the most common one, which is like Adventures in Voice Acting. It's done with Bang Zoom. Right now they're at Anime Expo. They're doing an open audition. They've been doing this since like the 2000s, where they go out to these anime conventions. They have people that want to be a voice actor come and audition, and then they select somebody. They become a winner. They put them in an anime. That's how a lot of people that get started. That's how I got started. So I would say Adventures in Voice Acting is one that I would recommend. And there is so many actors and directors out there that have online courses, that have in-person courses. All you got to do is look it up.
Well, voice acting is an industry where you don't see the voice acting. Here's a funny question: why are a lot of the females' voice actings so attractive?
Why are some of the female voice
actors are so attractive?
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand. So you're asking if why some of the female voice actors are attractive?
Yes.
I don't know. I think it kind of goes both ways. I think there's probably voice actors, men that are very good looking, very handsome, and vice versa. There's a lot of voice actresses that are very pretty. It's just a matter of taking care of yourself. I think sometimes this is my personal opinion. It doesn't mean that it's true, but I think some people might be inspired by some of the roles that they play, and we know that a lot of anime characters, not all of them, but a lot of them, objectively to the person, would be like, hey, that's a very attractive character. So maybe they might inspire them to work out, eat healthier, keep up with their appearance, beauty, techniques, maybe putting on, the makeup, or doing your hair in a certain way, or just making sure that you're clean shaved, and just, personal hygiene. So I think, sometimes actors and actresses might be inspired by some of the characters that they voice to, want to look better. Do
you think there's ever been a voice actor that's been as good at regular acting as well as voice acting?
Yeah. The one that I could think of at the top of my mind that's a regular actor and a voice actor, I'm blanking, but Troy Baker, I think, is one. I think more people recognize him from the voice acting, but he has been doing more on-camera work, which is, the Last of Us, the TV series. So the Troy Baker is the lead in the video game Joel. He plays Joel.
What about Matt Mercer?
Matt Mercer, I think, does more like the Dungeons and Dragons, like the critical role. He's a dungeon master, but I don't know if I've ever seen him on a TV show or like a movie or something like that. Because Troy Baker was like a character in the show. He wasn't Joel in the show, but he did play a character in the show. I don't know the character's name though. But he's the one that I could think of at the top of my mind that does voice acting and on-camera work.
And another one is, what do you think is the major differences, besides just visual thing, of voice acting and regular acting?
Yeah, voice acting is all in the voice. It's how you can get your character's emotions to get across by strictly just using your voice. So you have to be able to, because in anime you have music, you have sound effects, you have things that set the scene, and then the voice actor has to come in and deliver a performance that is believable to the audience. So it's like, if my character is sad, I have to make that believable. I have to make the audience feel what my character is feeling through my voice. On camera, it's all in your face. It's all in your eyes. It's all in your facial expressions. So that's like the difference between film and voice acting. Voice acting is all in the voice. Film is all in the face and in the eyes.
What do you think would be too old to become a voice actor?
Never. You could get into voice acting at any age. And that's the great thing about voice acting, is because you're not limited by your appearance. You're limited by your voice, what you can do. I mean, you could be 70 years old, 80 years old. I hope we both get to be that age. You know, I hope we live a good, long, and healthy life. Amen. But you could be an 80-year-old person playing like a 40-year-old character. You could be a 40-year-old character playing like a teenager.
Do you think there's ever been voice actors that are teenagers or younger?
Yeah, there are. There for sure are. It's not impossible. I think, from my experience, and it doesn't always necessarily mean that it's right, I think child actors are just the ones a little bit more harder to work with, because when you're a child, there's, it's harder to understand certain things. We can't treat you like an adult because you're a kid. When you're a teenager, you're a little bit older, so you understand how things work a little bit more. But there is teenage actors that are in the scene. The one that I can think of at the top of my head that isn't a teenager right now, but was a teenager when he started, was Zach Aguilar. He does Tanjiro and Demon Slayer. He's one of the characters in Genshin Impact. I don't play the game, so I don't know the character. And then he does Genos in One Punch Man. He was like a teenager when he first started.
Anime is known for its lot of mature themes and over the top of voice and over top emotion. How would you do that in, let's say, as a voice actor?
You said fanime?
Anime.
Oh, anime. Okay.
Like, for instance, like in the scene where Goku is turning Super Saiyan, and it's supposed to be a very serious and important scene. How would you do that as a voice actor? A scene that's more mature themes.
Right. It's first of all, it's just understanding your character and understanding, because when you are first learning acting, you're told your who, your what, your when, your where, your why, and your how. So who are you? Why are you talking to this person? Where are you talking to this person? What are you talking about? Where you're at, and then how. How do you feel about that character? Or how do you feel about that person? How does, as you said with Goku, charging up the
Super Saiyan again.
When he's going Super Saiyan, yeah. So we know that Goku, the angrier the Saiyans get, the stronger that they get. So preparing for that is just kind of like, how does Goku feel in that moment? Why does he feel the way he feels? Where is he at? Obviously, not only in the scene, but where is he at as a character? Where is he at in the story? What has he developed? Like where has he grown as a character? What is he, angry about? What is it that is making him go to Super Saiyan? I think the first time is when Krillin died, right?
Exactly.
So it was the loss of a friend, So it's these things that you have to, that's why reading your script, understanding your character is so important, but also asking questions, ask the director, ask the writers, ask, if you even have the opportunity to talk to the creator themselves, ask them, so you can understand, what, your character is going through. That way you can give a, not just a better performance, but try your best to become that character.
How does a voice actor channel the emotions for certain scenes?
It's different for everybody. It's different. Everyone has a different, method. Everyone has certain techniques that they do that help them kind of get into character. There's no one right way. There is tricks and tips that you can give. an actor, but I think everyone just goes about it in just a different way. So figuring out what your tools are that can help you get into those moments are going to be important for you to figure out for yourself. Figure out what works for you, and you can always ask, actors, and they can tell you, what they do. I mean, for me, it's more of spending time by myself with the script, with the character feelings in mind, and then trying to maybe bring up something similar that you might have experienced. But remember, this is a character with a different personality as you, so they're not going to respond the same way that you would respond.
Exactly.
So it's understanding, your character.
Superstitions. Is there any superstitions as a voice actor that you do to try to get a job or into character?
I don't want to say I'm a superstitious person, because I don't think I am. I think the number one thing for me is obviously leaning on my faith as a believer, and really putting, those moments of spending time alone with the Lord and praying about, these characters, or maybe an audition that I'm doing. And especially praying for a character that you might pray to not allow that character's personality or emotions to manifest into you, because you're playing the character. You're not that person, but you're providing the voice for that character. Strictly, I'm just speaking on voice acting because that's what we're doing. But for me, it's I don't think I'm a superstitious person, but for sure I lean into my faith and my prayer whenever I'm going to take on a character, or when I'm going to audition, or before I start a role. So whatever it is that works for you. For me, it's spending time with God, spending time with the Lord, and just praying.
When you're going for a role, or after you celebrating a role, what would you eat?
I don't think whatever I'm feeling in the moment. I try to stay, maybe light with something. So I've never really thought about that, to be honest. Like, when I get a role or things like that, I think more so I'm just more happy. So maybe the hunger isn't really there. If I were to celebrate, I think maybe a nice smoothie would be pretty cool, something like that.
That's really good. Let's see.
Yeah.
As a voice actor, a lot of voice actors don't see the other actors. How do you convey emotion between other voice actors that you don't see?
Yeah, so most of the time, that's going to work with a lot of dubbing, with dubbing like in anime or stuff like that. Even in sometimes video games, not all the time, but majority of the time, you're not going to be in the room with another actor if you're doing dubs, if you're doing dubbing work, because you're going to have the screen, you'll have your script, you'll have the director, you'll more than likely have the engineer, maybe the producer, and sometimes maybe even the creator. But most of the time, in the dubbing type of field, whenever you're not in the room with another actor, it's you, the director, and the engineer. And you have the screen where you're able to see what's going on, and sometimes you'll have an actor that might have recorded their lines before you. If that doesn't happen, then you're going to hear the Japanese audio, because in dubbing, it isn't strictly for Japanese. It could be Russian, and then you dub it into English. So you'll have the original language of whatever it is that you're dubbing, and then you'll have these 3 beeps, and it's a 1, 2, 3, and then what would be on the 4th imaginary beat, that's when you would start talking. So you're only getting because acting is reacting. Yes. So you're reacting to whatever it is that's happening to you. So with dubbing, you have to go just based off of what you're seeing on the screen and what you're seeing on the script. And most of the time, actors will do a pretty good job with that already. Unless you're just this super talented, amazing actor that never messes up, which, newsflash, every single actor messes up. Obviously, there is certain actors that are just in a league of their own. But that's why I love animation work so much, is because you do react to a lot of other actors that are in the same room as you, and you can kind of play off of their performance, or you play off of them. So, but in dubbing, you have the screen, the script, the director, yourself, and the engineer.
What was your, out of all animes you've seen with voice acting, what would be the masterpiece of voice acting in an anime scene? Out of all the anime you've seen,
Dude, it just, oof. It is subjective to everyone. I don't know if I could say like one scene in particular that I could think of at the top of my head. I think some of the greatest like voice acting, and this would go to like English or Japanese, because those are only the two types of languages that I tend to really listen to. Obviously my native language and then the original language, Japanese. But I mean, I've seen like other ones, but specifically in anime, dude, I think Cowboy Bebop, Full Metal Alchemist, Yu Yu Hakusho. Oh, dude, it's a tough one. I'm just gonna name, I guess, like one. I don't know if I can name a scene, but I think, man, I don't want to be basic and say something that everyone kind of knows, but I guess in my native language, I would say Yu Yu Hakusho had a really, really good dub, had a really good script writing, because obviously when you translate the language, you have to translate it to mean the same thing of what the Japanese is writing. And then you have to go off of syllables, and you have to go off the mouth flaps. Because obviously in dub, you have 3 mouth flaps. You have open, close, and then half open. And the translator has to translate the dialogue from the Japanese language to the English language. And then that's why I thought Yu Yu Hakusho had such a brilliant acting in it, because sometimes people give heat to a lot of dubs, English dubs, but there is some English dubs out there that are just brilliant, that are just so amazing. That's not to say that every single one is bad, but obviously people have their opinions on the matter and things like that, and they're entitled to it. But I would say Yu Yu Hakusho had a really, really good dub.
a lot of older animes, voice acting was kind of almost subpar to para now. Why do you think voice acting has gotten so much better over the years?
Training, trial and error, more of a demand for it, because I mean, anime's been popular at least from when anime hit real mainstream in the States. It was like during like the 2010s, and then when COVID happened, it just skyrocketed and became even more. But anime, has been popular for so long. I think just so many more people being open to it. So many people more. It's more accessible. Because back then you could only watch anime on Toonami at like Saturday nights, or maybe if you went to like a Target or a Best Buy or a Hollywood Video, you might find a small section that had some anime in it. But now, like, anime's everywhere. It's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, it's on TikTok, it's on YouTube, it's on Crunchyroll, it's on Netflix, it's on Hulu. So you have these massive streaming services that provide the anime, so it's more accessible, so more people are finding out about it. And I think when more people like sit down and watch it, and they get drawn to the storytelling, to the artwork, to the acting, to just the overall story theme, I think people just fell in love with it, and they were like, hey, this is a great piece of media.
So you're saying what made that voice acting better is the idea of more people are going there, and they become more of a professional actors, and rather than just, okay, I'm going to do this dub and get it over with.
Okay, so just to make sure I understand, your original question was why is anime so popular now?
No, my original question is, why is when you look at old voice acting, it was not as good as it is now.
Okay, yes. My apologies, I went on a tangent right there. Training, trial and error, and then technology. Obviously, there's more. There's more to work with. There's more people that are getting into that field of work. You have more people that are dedicating their time to it. But like everything, trial and error, and just fixing what's wrong, and then getting better at it, and then technology.
For instance, there was an original Akira dub. The voice actor was for Canada was done by Donatello from the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
But now it's redone by John Young Bosch.
Bosch.
Why did you think they decide to completely redub something so old
Dude.
and iconic?
Dude, yeah. I mean, we still, if you have like the VHS or the DVD, did the DVD have the original dub?
No.
No, it was with Johnny.
Yep.
Yeah, so only the VHS had the
Yep.
original one. So I mean, if you still have a copy of the VHS, oh man, dude, because Sailor Moon did that too. They redubbed it. There is some animes that have been redubbed. I think Hunter x Hunter, I think, is another one. I think it comes down. From what I understand, and I could be wrong, I think licensing could be a thing of why they have to redub it, and then also too, back then these companies didn't know how the English audience are going to react to dub. That's why like earlier animes had English openings. They didn't keep the Japanese dubs. And then as anime got more popular, people were like, oh, hey, we actually like the Japanese stuff, so you don't need to change the language of the opening. But for Akira in total, I think it might have been a licensing issue that they could have redubbed it, which I still like both of them. And I love Johnny's performance.
Do you think there's ever voice actors that's done two different studios, not necessarily that would work for Funimation or also Bang Zoom? Same voice actor to multiple different studios.
Yeah, you can. Right, so just to make sure I understand, you're asking an actor can work on different projects for different studios.
Or are they considered licensed to a specific studio?
No, the only time I've ever seen that really be a problem is like with products. So like if you voice for Coca-Cola, you couldn't voice for like Sprite or Pepsi. But when you're like in like a voicing for like different shows or animes, no, there is no like, oh, hey, you're in this show, so you can't be in this show. I'm pretty sure it does happen. Like, it could be like a conflict of schedule. But no, most of the time I've only ever really see that push hardcore is in the sense of products.
What would you say a voice actor for when they get a job? What's their voice actor's contract would be like?
That's gonna depend on like the studio. If you freelance or if you're in the union. If you work a union project, it's going to be a little bit different. If you do, a lot of people, they're freelance and they do stuff online and things like that. So they kind of forge a contract to, maybe the amount of, they charge by the hour, or maybe they charge by the words. It's always going to be different. It's dependent on you, who you're working with, knowing what your worth is, but also not being so stubborn. Sometimes people will get offered a certain amount and they're like no, they want to negotiate, and then they lose out on the working on the project. So sometimes it's picking and choosing your battles, and it's always going to be different depending on what it is that you're doing.
And the big last question, but this is the big one, what is the net worth of an average voice actor?
Well, if you're doing commercial work, you are getting paid money. You are getting paid really, really good. Commercial pays the best. Animation pays. It depends on who you are, what your contract is. Like these things are. It's really difficult to pinpoint. Like, hey, this is how much they make. 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 Like with dubbing in California, you get charged. I think it's usually 4-hour sessions, and I think you're getting paid. I think you're getting paid $100 or $75 per hour, and then but at least in California, if you're finished within the 4 hours, you get paid that full 4 hours basically. But if you're in Texas, I think it's $75, but you work the full 4 hours if you're doing dubbing work. Video games and animation, they're always different. It's just. I know it's an answer that you're like, all right, bro, you keep saying this, but it's literally the truth. It all just depends on.
So there are some people that could be essentially rich from dubbing, and then there's some people who are barely scrapping by while still are also doing voice acting.
Yes, there is probably a handful of voice actors that are full-time voice actors, and that is their only job, and that's the only money they're making. But there is a lot of actors, including myself, that still have a daytime job, still have a second job, and then still does voice acting.
Exactly. Thank you for your time. This was RileyChaseFox, future greatest voice actor of all time.
Amen. I like it. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, brother. Or we can... we'll just do a fist pound. There we go. Cool. That's it, man.
Yep. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the All-American Otaku Show. Hopefully you enjoyed our discussion earlier about voice acting and the format that we did of more of a podcast than a news podcast than we normally do. And I'm hoping you enjoy the interview that we did with RileyChaseFox, future greatest voice actor to ever be in voice acting. Yeah. And I'm hoping you enjoy our series with Louie Louie. And hopefully we'll see him back next time I'm in California.
Or I go up there. Yeah.
Or I go up there in Seattle, Washington area. I'm really hoping to do more of this format and stuff for you when I have the co-host of Louie Louie, especially in 2028 when we do a KomoriCon episode.
That's right, 2 years.
2 years. And that will be another convention episode, way back to our first convention. Can you believe it's been 4 years? Where we did a short episode and filmed the things.
I remember when we were at.
So we've gone a long way, and eventually I've been looking at and designing T-shirt designs for future things. So if you like this thing, please like and subscribe.
Yes, please do like and subscribe. It'll be helping Jeremiah a lot.
Or helping AniBear and Louie Louie.
Louie Louie. You guys have a great day.
Have a great day.
Night,
and
great morning, great wherever you're at.
And thank you for watching the series, and thank you for being part of the show for these 2 episodes, Louie Louie. See ya. Bang.
Morning pages, thinking tea. Dog-eared panels next to me. Late night quests and chapter breaks. Familiar hearts, familiar